What is up, eaters and feeders? We are discussing how to start a meal plan company with just $500. Today, we're going to be discussing what sales is going to look like. I mean, you've only got $500. You can't salary a bunch of people. What's this? I mean, how are you going to scale it? How are you going to set your initial sales goals? What's production going to look like? We're going to discuss all that and more in today's video. Before we get started, my name is Casey Cochran. I am co-founder of Fit Food Fresh, Florida's highest rated meal plan company, and we started this from zero. So if we're starting with $500 tomorrow with the knowledge that I've amassed over the last 6 years, this is going to be easy. And I'm going to show you how I would do it in that aforementioned scenario with the $500 starting tomorrow with all this information. So we're going to discuss tips, tricks, and pitfalls, as well as anything else that you guys want to hear. Comment below, let me know, shoot me a direct message, do whatever, and also subscribe so when I do get around to answering your question or somebody else's question that you might just want to know about, you won't miss out on that. Let's get started. So, again, we started this with nothing. We were outsiders. My business partner and I, we weren't personal trainers, we weren't chefs, we weren't nutritionists, we were meal plan customers, honestly. And we wanted to eat healthier. We, most importantly, just wanted the convenience of it because we were super busy guys and we just couldn't find a company that we liked. So if you are, and I'm a high school dropout, so if you are a trainer, a nutritionist, or a chef, you've got plenty of advantages on us, and I'll just be able to fill in some gaps of anything that you have, maybe, hopefully. And if you aren't a trainer, a nutritionist, dietitian, or chef, don't worry, you don't have to be. I still don't know how to cook. I could burn water. Okay, so sales. What's that gonna look like? Well, go into the bathroom, clean the mirror, look right into it. That's you. That's the sales force. You're it. So congratulations. As the founder of any company, as the C-level of any company, you should consider, you're at least 50% of your responsibilities are going to be sales. You have to be an evangelist. Even if you're the CTO of a company, you need to be the evangelist or an evangelist for that company and just selling to whoever. But initially, let's start talking sales goals, because that's going to be the most important thing. Because what's beautiful about this business is you don't need to have 50 or 100 people to start. You can start this with 10 people. I wouldn't do it with less than 10. 20 would be better. 50 would be pretty cool. But 10 is where I would start, because that's what we started with. And if we were able to do it, you can do it. 10 people, 10 items. Keep it really simple. Don't let them pick. If they're allergic to something or they absolutely can't have something that's on the menu, give them 2 of something else. Keep it easy, because if we're starting for $500 and some of you may be more advanced, so obviously this doesn't pertain to you. Maybe you have more money, maybe you've been doing this a while and you're just looking for some other tips and tricks. But in the scenario where we've only got $500, we don't have a site built because we're going to pretend we don't know how to do any of that. So again, if you have those skill sets, great, more power to you. High five. But in this scenario, we've got none of that. We don't know what we're doing. All we know is we got $500 and we want to make awesome food for people. So we got to figure this out the dumb way. No website. How are we getting our orders in? Email, text. And I look at my video or watch my video on ordering systems, because ordering systems and production have a lot to do with sales, because the more simplified your production is, the easier the sales are going to be. And so again, 10 items, 10 people, maybe even less if you can get away with it. The less the better. The more simple the better. You want to squeeze out as much profit as possible initially, because if you start off like always razor thin margins, you're never able to get ahead of things. And if we really only have $500, we're going to want to make it last. So what's beautiful about this, though, is this is one of the rare businesses where you could technically have revenue before anything else. If I started this out by just emailing a menu out and either I'm making the food or if I already got my costs figured out for production, I can email out this menu to people, they email it back, And if they're not picking, if I don't allow them to pick and it's just like an on or off thing and they just get whatever food, and like I said, they don't like chicken, you give them 2 mahis, whatever, it'd make it a lot easier for you. So you get that initial production going, and congratulations, you're profitable your first week if you know your numbers. And you shouldn't move forward if you don't know your numbers. And I'll discuss different numbers. But initially, the rule that we're going to be discussing is, well, I guess first, just you are sales. I'm going to capitalize it because it's serious. You are sales. Bruh. You are sales, bruh. All right. So that's number 1. Number 2, I think I got this from Grant Cardone. And this is one of those lessons that you kind of learn. There's some lessons that you think you learn it, and I like how to make an N. I thought I knew how to make an N, and I just showed I didn't. And you think you learn the lesson, but you just keep on learning it over and over. That is, your network is greater than your net worth. Your network is worth more than your net worth. What do I mean by that? Well, if I know a ton of people to whom I can sell a product, all I need to do is like tell them I'm selling this product. What's beautiful about food is like most people tend to eat. I find I like to eat several times a day every day. So I'd be a great client for a meal plan company. So if you know anybody else like me, just go to them and say, hey, you're probably already buying food several times a day, right? They'll be like, yeah, how'd you know? And then just say, guess what? I'm making food now, so you can just, instead of spending that money with a stranger, you can help me, and it'll make your life easier because you won't have to cook the food or sell your friends. It'll be easy to get 10, 20 people, even if you don't have friends. Everyone's got social media these days. Cut them in on a good deal, know that you're making profit on it, and treat them like founders, like seed investment. But what's better about this is instead of just getting like some stocks and an IPO listing that they really can't do anything with, they'll at least be able to eat this investment next week. They have to make another investment, obviously, but at least they eat it. And like I said, they're already spending this money, so this should be a really easy sell. 10 to 20 people. I say 10 because that's, if you get 10, start with 10. Don't procrastinate. The most dangerous thing is I know a lot of people in a lot of different businesses all over the place, and you'll find an excuse not to do this. If I told you 50 people was awesome, you might wait till you have 50 people. You might never get 50 people. If you have 10 people, you're not going to lose much money if you do your numbers wrong. You'll learn a lot, and I guarantee if you have to come back at 15 or 20 people, you're going to be spot on that time. But don't be afraid to fail. Start with 10 people. Just get that initial motion going. Even if you had to stop it and start it up again. I know these were a lot of our concerns in the beginning. There was one time we even faked I'll tell you more about this, but we told everybody we had a kitchen fire because we had a chef who quit half week or midweek. We do 2 cooks a week, or 2 different deliveries a week, so 2 different cooking sessions. She did one and quit because she had a wedding or something to cater. That was early in. I'll probably talk about more of that in production. So, network, net worth. Get out there and meet people. I'm not a big people person. You might be misanthropic. You might just be shy. But get on LinkedIn. Get on social media if you hate people. But if you're good with people, just get out there. Anybody eats. Now, the next thing I'm going to want to address again is the fact that you're able to get the money up front is something that's very rare and very, very awesome about this business. So whatever money you're able to collect from this network, you should not even be touching that $500. All right? So getting that money up front is key. Now, the reason I mention this is right now, and when you start, your production time isn't going to be as crazy. Your materials sourcing time, your shopping time isn't going to be as crazy. As you grow, it will get crazier. Initially, you'll probably be going to maybe a retail store or maybe a restaurant supply store to get your stuff, and you're going to be able to bang it out on a Sunday. And then you're gonna have to start, doing production on a Saturday because you're gonna get bigger. And you're gonna have to start doing production, on a Friday. Now we start production for Monday on Thursday because that's when stuff gets delivered. That's when we start peeling stuff or putting it in a marinade or anything else. So keep that in mind. One thing to keep in mind is as you grow, you're going to want to make sure that deadline's further back. I would suggest starting it at Wednesday. Wednesday, midnight, that's your deadline. That gives you Thursday to put in an order or Friday to put in an order. You could do, you can compare prices. When you're rushed, if your deadline's Friday and you're starting to bang out, thousands of meals, you're not buying the cheapest potatoes. You're not buying the cheapest chicken. You're just buying everything from the first guy who can get a truck to you. And the truck deliveries, I think around here, if you spend like at least $500, I think you can get a distributor to drop off at your kitchen. So those are some things to consider. Keep that deadline back, and you're gonna have to sell them on that because a lot of people are gonna be like, well, why is it that this company lets me order, on Friday, or why am I ordering Wednesday when I'm not getting the food till Monday? It's not a big problem, but if people are spoiled and they're used to a bigger company who's banging out meals more efficiently, or maybe they're using a MAP process, that is one thing that people don't like. But in the beginning, it should be friends and family. This should be the most tolerant audience that you're ever going to have, and these are the people you're going to make your mistakes with. These are the people you're going to push the hardest rules that'll give you an advantage business wise. So 10 to 20 people, at least get some momentum with that. Now, don't rely on gyms. I'm gonna just say that we've got a lot of gym owners who are very good friends of ours. We're friends with everybody. We got meal plan companies. We got a bunch of friends who have meal plan companies, and we discuss this stuff all the time. And my understanding from the gym owners, and I hold this against none of them because I completely understand. If I was in their situation, I would do the same. But basically, the way it looks is, first off, everyone's going to tell you, what you should do when you go to set up a bank account at the bank, or when you go to a restaurant supply place and you're buying pans and they find out what you do. Oh, you sell healthy food? You know what you should do? You should go to my gym and you should set up a table. I know the manager, and everybody's doing that. And gym owners love that. They love free food for their members because it's just free food for people who are paying to be in their building. So it gives an added perk to that gym membership if they always have a meal plan company there. So the downside of that is if you can't be in that gym next time, they're probably not going to turn down your competitor, and they might seek out your competitor. And that's okay, and that happens. Like I said, we've got friends who own gyms. We just can't be everywhere. We can't go to all their events. They'll run events maybe more frequently just because they're trying to drum up their own business, and they'll want somebody to be there, and they'll have a chiropractor, and they'll have an essential oils person, they'll have a juice place, and they'll want that food place to be there just to have some little num-nums. Maybe it's a workout, like a holiday workout or whatever it is. They just want some food there. It's some free catering. That's really what we are. We're doing an event, we're doing some free catering, and we're getting some leads. So the problem with an event with gyms is they don't have loyalty. So if you don't have a name that really sticks out, like Fit Food Fresh doesn't really stick out. We didn't really pick the name. That's another story. But so we could sell you on the product this week, and then when you see our competitor there next week, you sign up with them. That sucks. The other thing is if you are going to do a gym, and I don't want to scare you away from them, but one thing to consider is the price of the gym and the price of your meals. We are on the higher end. We charge more than a lot of the meal plan companies here. We are just targeting that demographic. We consider ourselves, the Nordstrom to the Walmart of meal plans. Not to offend anybody or whatever, but it's just that idea of you expect a bit more than the essentials. You're willing to pay a bit more than what the essentials cost, right? So for us, we can't go into, and I won't name these gyms, screw it. Can't go, I'm not gonna, Crunch, we can't go, like any of the $10 gyms, Planet Fitness, YouFit, they're $10 a month. Not saying everyone who works out there is not serious, but it is more reasonable to expect somebody paying $200 a month to be a bit more serious and willing and able to invest in a nutrition plan that a lot of people see as an add-on or a luxury item. They don't understand they're already putting out this money, so you can't think logically. You've got to understand when people see this bill, this is going to be part of your sales shtick, is when they're looking at this bill and it's like, oh, it's $150 a week for food. It's like, yeah, but I mean, how much are you already spending? Plus the time and everything else. So you have to be going places where it's more likely than not to have a higher population of people who value their time. You know, attorneys are beautiful because they have a dollar amount on their time, $500 an hour. They know when they go to Whole Foods and do shopping and they go home and do cooking, they're doing that math in their head. So you got to think of where they're going to be. Now, if you have a value-based or a price-based meal plan kind of angle where you're trying to do a more affordable meal plan company, there's some here that do like $7 meals. We got meals that are more than twice that. But $7 meals, they would do fine at Planet Fitness or 24-Hour Fitness or LA Fitness or Crunch or UFit or any of those other ones. We have to like go to a CrossFit where people are paying like at least $165. Even then, it might be a stretch for people. So we try to go to the higher end gyms if we do go to gyms, but we rely a lot on referrals, thankfully. We've done, pretty well as far as that's concerned. Instagram models and athletes, same thing. Everyone's going to think like, oh, that's all I have to do is get somebody who has a lot of followers to post about my food, and then the money's just going to roll in. The reality of the situation is nowadays people are so numb to seeing the Instagram models and the athletes and everything do these promotions. The bigger athletes and the people who have a lot of views, it normally costs a lot to do that. The really big athletes, like we had A-Rod and we had Jason Pierre-Paul and we've had Shane Ray and we've had Mark Ingram. And we had a bunch of guys. I know nothing about sports. Those are just, you have to be really big for me to know who you are. And those are just the people but we can list off a bunch of people athletes who we've had on the program, and they've got tons of followers. And those guys aren't interested in a promotion or anything like that. They're not going to go on their Instagram and post anything for free food. That might be effective. I don't know. But we don't approach those guys. They just pay a regular price. We get them through their trainers or something. The ones who tend to want to, it's the irony, is the guys who would probably be able to maybe get us some eyeballs and something if they were to just do it for free. Those guys don't really have any interest because they've got tons of money. They're just paying full price, and it's just not like cool to kind of approach them for that. And but even when you do, it hasn't been fruitful. We've had Instagram models who have millions of followers post about us ongoing for weeks and months at a time. You don't really get much. When you're starting off, the other thing you have to consider is even if you had somebody who had millions of followers and they were going to post for free, how is that person going to take advantage of whatever that post is going to be advertising? Let's say it's a 20% off or whatever. If you're just starting off, let's assume you don't have a website or anything, the coupon not being there, people are so misanthropic and so lazy. They want something that'll click, paste maybe. I don't even want to copy and paste. I just want to click. I want me. I want super easy. I do not want to get on the phone and say, hey, this Instagram model said that, or this athlete said that I would get 20% off if I mentioned that I saw their post. People aren't going to do that. I've never seen it done. Whenever we've had the call to action involve a phone call, nothing happens. Coupon maybe, but even then it's not great. So the bottom line is, don't really expect it to be easy. If those are your backup plans, like your plan C, D, E, Instagram models, gyms, and athletes, whatever else, you might know somebody. Like everybody knows somebody who knows something. Even if you don't, it doesn't matter. You're not missing out on much. I keep on reading different articles about how Instagram models are basically like failing to show much return on investment for a lot of different businesses. So that's just a dwindling market or approach to take, and I would advise against it. And this is no hate towards Instagram people or athletes or anything. At the end of the day, consumers have already adapted. We're adapting faster and faster to these marketing tactics. And like I said, they're just numb to seeing these Instagram models and athletes promoting something. They don't care. They're following them for the content or because they like them or because they're a fan, whatever else. It's not necessarily going to be that fruitful. Not saying it's not going to work, but don't rely on it. That's the most important thing. Is I know a lot of companies are like, well, I've got this connection, or I'm going to go this route, and I'm going to do this thing that no one's ever thought of. Everyone's thought of it, pretty sure. Like, I haven't heard any unique ideas. A lot of companies are like, oh, I have this idea. Oh, I'm going to develop a software for this business, and then I'm going to license it out to other companies. And I'm so smart. Everyone's got that idea. Everyone's had that problem. They've run the same things. Everyone's gone like, oh, wouldn't it be easier if some chick with like 10 million followers just posted my food? I bet a bunch of people would buy it because she's in good shape or because he's a professional athlete. Nah. But before you get to any of that stuff, if you do go that route, consider it like commission, because a lot of them, they're going to ask you to invest in them. So commission, it all just contributes to your CPA, really. So let's go over that. Oh, I haven't written on here in a while. Your CPA, what is that? That is the cost per acquisition. Oh man, I'm horrible at this. I hope that didn't look awkward. I hope that looks really cool. My mom was a teacher. I dropped out of high school. So, cost per acquisition, what's that mean? Well, if you don't know, it just means how much it costs to get a client. Let's say we run an ad and it costs us $1,000, and out of that ad we get 10 clients. Our cost per acquisition is $100 per client. 1,000 times 10, or divided by 10, right? So, that's our CPA. What else do we need to know? Well, if I'm going to be paying somebody or investing in something, not only do I need to know how much it costs me to get them, I need to know how much I'm going to make once I have them to make sure that this CPA is justified. If I'm paying $100 to get you, but I only make $90 off of you, I'm paying $10 for the pleasure of serving you. Now, this is where we talk about the LTV. LTV, what does that mean? Lifetime value. Yeah. You guys probably can't even see this on the screen. I apologize. All right, so we got your LTV, lifetime value. What is your LTV? What is your lifetime value? Well, it's a very simple. Oopsie. It's a very simple bit of arithmetic, all right? So we're going to take the average profit per ticket and we're going to multiply that by, now we do weeks, so you might do months, but we do weeks. It's units, like you buy a week at a time. So this will be average lifespan in weeks, obviously. All right, and then that'll give us what their LTV is, all right? So let's do a scenario. Let's say that we are doing, let's just use round numbers. Let's say it's $100. And let's say our cost for food is $30 because we're on the high side. And let's say our labor out of that 100 is another 30. So we're looking at $60 to manufacture let's just assume everything's in there. And we're looking at a $40 profit. Actually, that's a bit much. I don't even want to. Let's say it's a $30 profit. So let's just say, forget all of this, $30 right here, just to make it easy. Now let's say people stay on the program for an average of 10 weeks. So the average person spends $100 with me. On that, I get $30, and then I get that $30 on an average for 10 weeks. So that gives us an LTV of $300. So as long as my cost per acquisition is lower than 300, I'm making money, profit, in theory. You want it to be a fraction of the 300, so you're making a lot of money, because there's a lot of things that you're not going to be able to take into consider. But this is also something that you're going to want to, these are all numbers that you're going to want to constantly go over, because this is going to be the life and death for your business. So your cost per acquisition might change depending on your different methods. It might change even if you're doing, Google AdWords campaigns. As more companies become, savvy to doing Google AdWords, they're going to be bidding for those, same AdWords and driving up the price. Your lifetime value is going to change, and it might depend on where you get your clients. You might have a source or a rep, commission-based salesperson, who has a higher or lower LTV than your standard client. If they've got a lower one, you've got to reassess how much money you're paying that rep to bring them on, because it better not be as much as you're paying to get a standard client who's going to make you $300 if you're bringing on, people. You're still making $30 a week, but let's say when they come from that rep, for some reason they're only staying on for like 3 weeks because they're just helping that rep. They're friends of that rep. The rep works at a gym that they go to, and he's like, hey, I'm selling meals, help me out with commission, try it for a couple of weeks. Hey, it's not really in my price range. Hey, just try them for a couple of weeks and tell me what you think. That wasn't a good client to have. You paid that rep whatever commission for someone who has a lower lifetime value. It's bad news bears. Same thing with radio commercials or any other outlet. It might be this rep has great, this rep has great referrals that stay forever, spend a ton of money, and this rep, for whatever reason, they suck. Might be this radio show has great, people who come from it, this one's garbage. So you have to test everything. But the other thing to consider is also, as you grow, your LTV may change because maybe your customer service isn't as good. Maybe your CPA is going to change because now you're not able to get to leads as effectively. So that person who would have closed ended up going with a competitor because you had to take another day or half day to call them. So you're going to want to always look at these things as you grow, because I assure you they are going to change. You're going to have natural attrition rates that don't exist one year, but then next year when you've doubled or you've tripled, you see this hemorrhage of clients when you come up on a holiday or a summer. Even though last year when you were smaller, you grew right through it. We averaged 30% growth for like a year and a half, month over month. 30% growth month over month. It was crazy. It was something ridiculous like that. Maybe like 2 years. And we're just like, man, we're talking to competitors, larger companies trying to buy us out in the area. And they're just like, oh man, December was rough, right? And we're just like, oh no, we grew right through December. We grew right through summer. Like, we're smart. We figured this out. It's like, no, it's because we're this big. So when you're able to bring, let's say you're bringing 20 people on a week and you have an attrition of 10% weekly, just naturally. Well, when you're at 100 people, that 10% attrition means you're only losing 10 people. So it's 10% of 100, you lose 100. So you got 90 people left. Then you get that 20 that you've been able to grow on. Boom, you still grow by 10. That's easy. Now let's fast forward to 1,000. Now you got 1,000 people. 10% of that is how much? And I assure you it might be more. But even if the attrition stayed the same and there's just that gradual 10%, that's losing 100 people. Now if you're still only putting on 20 people a week and you haven't figured out a more efficient way to start adding to the sales process, you're going to be out of business. You're going to find you'll never get to 1,000 if you have that natural attrition problem that you're not able to overcompensate, because you just hit this glass ceiling where eventually you're going to be at like, what would that be? 200. So you get to 200, and that's when you'd have that equilibrium of, I'm bringing on 20, but I'm naturally losing that 10%, which is now 20. So it would probably not work like that in life, because life is not a vacuum. You'd either plummet down or maybe fight up and down and whatever, but you're generally going to have that because there's something about the fundamentals of your business, your sales process, or otherwise that needs to be reassessed and tweaked. Now you can see that stuff coming if you stay on top of your CPA and you stay on top of your LTV. And then, like I said, measure that individually, especially your LTV, for each of the different sales sources or outlets that you're going to have above yourself. But again, those are your plan C, D, and E. You are your plan A. You are your plan B. We're going to get that initial network. We're going to pump them for some referrals. And that's really what it looks like. It's nothing crazy or complicated. If I were to tell you a way to add 100 people your first week, I mean, it might make you self-implode. I don't know how I would add 100 people my first week without drumming up and wasting a lot of time going to companies or anything like that. And I'm not going to tell you some fairy tale. You don't need 100 people your first week. You need 10. You need 20. You need 10 who are going to be evangelists and bring their friends on and pay full price to help you out, or pay maybe a discounted price, but tell their friends that they're paying full price, but at least a price where you're making profit. And that's the most important thing behind anything, because it's not worth selling if you don't know what the numbers are and where you have to be at the end of the day. So hopefully that gave you guys some answers, and most importantly, what I want you to take away from this is make some mistakes. Be comfortable to fail. On a small scale of 10 people starting off, where you're not even tapping into that 500, you've got a lot of potential. Now, if you have any skill sets, if you have any networks that you can tap into, if you have any experience or anything like that that would be able to help you, you're going to be even more ahead. But understand, I'm trying to keep this whole little scenario of $500 as generic as possible, and I'm trying not to assume that you're a personal trainer who has a bunch of people. If you already got 20 people who you're training, you're just going to increase your income a lot. That's easy. If you're a nutritionist who has a bunch of clients they're already consulting for, but there's a lot of ways that you guys can get a natural boost. Look at what you already have. Remember, network and net worth. Which one are you going to have? Which one are you going to focus on? If you don't have the network now, focus on starting to build that. I was very behind. I'm still very behind on building my network. I've been kind of behind the scenes with Fit Food Fresh, focusing on putting my screen into my face into a screen for the last almost 6 years. Now I really regret not getting out there and building up that network. I've been focusing too much on this, and this is just stuff that you got to spend. This is way better, because this is stuff that's spending with you. This is stuff that I work to spend, to hopefully get stuff to come back. Go right to this. You know enough people, you can do anything. That's all I got. Again, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, comment and subscribe. That's the most important thing, because I want to know what else you guys would like to hear. We should be hearing from my business partner, Steven. I'm going to have his input. We have a lot of differences on our perspective, but it makes a very interesting combination. Obviously, Fit Food Fresh wouldn't be what it is without both of us. So, without babbling anymore, that's what I'm going to leave you guys with.